Back at it.
Again, another week.
Another week to talk about why firefighters are dying of sleep debt.
Yeah, wake up, we're dying.
Before we get to our podcast episode, though, I want our audience to hear a little bit about what we're doing with our personal programs and our missions to help first responders and women in these male-dominated fields. So, what's your elevator pitch for our audience?
Rekindled Retreats is a place that I've put my focus and heart into the last 2 years, and it's a place to reconnect with yourself. So diving into the tools that are out there to be able to regulate your nervous system and recognize when you are activated and how to bring yourself down so that you can have a better quality of life overall. And it is that simple, but it starts with a plan. So that's where Rekindled comes in and helps work with clients. Let's create a plan that is doable, attainable, and sustainable.
I love that. And you can't give to others until you're giving that same thing to yourself. So I imagine that connects you to your relationships better and the meaning of your life better and your work better. And
yeah, the connection is so much deeper and it's real and it's authentic and it allows you to get more comfortable just in who you are, which in turn allows everybody to be more comfortable around you in return.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and what about this sleep camp? What is a good goal or something that somebody would be driven towards a sleep camp?
Firefighter Sleep Camp, like you, it's been in the works and the fine-tuning over the last 3.5 years, and it really is focused on the fact that, firefighters, we all suffer from this massive sleep debt, and studies are just revealing more and more how hard that is on every aspect of our lives and our biology. So Sleep Performance Camp is the place that firefighters and first responders get to go to actually train for sleep debt and get the tools so that they can self-rescue, just like you would with your bailout belt. The idea that nobody is coming to save you if you're in this field. The calls are still coming. The budget cuts are still there. So we have to have agency and empower ourselves to do what we can do for living life with this massive issue. So that's been a really amazing mission and journey for me because people can take the tools and apply them immediately, and it does absolutely change their lives. So that's Sleep Performance Camp, and I'm really excited about Fire Gals is coming up next February the 16th through the 19th. And then the co-ed version of the camp, we move with a wait list. So as the wait list builds, we see the interest, and then we announce the date about 4 or 5 months in advance. So that's going to be coming up here.
Ah, that's so exciting. I loved my experience at Fire Gals. Having been to it, it was amazing. And talk about some good accountability just in sleep training. It is on you and the tools that you use to perform better ultimately. So I love the idea that you've incorporated training into it because it's very attainable and realistic because we cannot perform at our best without the proper nutrition, training, sleep. It's all included, and sleep really is the foundation of all that.
Yeah, just like athletes. For industrial athletes, it's time to really live like that's the case instead of just labeling it so and then not actually having a strategic plan for it. And that also brings us to a huge thanks to our producer, JD, who also happens to be my husband, my partner.
Yep.
He's been working tirelessly for us to get these podcasts out on the dot, on the clock, every other week. So I have way too much to do and don't have the technical expertise to do it.
Yes.
So we are all indebted to him. So with that, Natalie, diving back into Wake Up We're Dying. Last time we shared our personal experiences with sleep debt and just how it affected our lives and how it showed up, and then all of the statistics, and it was really heavy. It felt, it's a wake-up call, right? And I feel like for most of the time when I get in front of someone, I have to start with that because it raises the stakes on why does this matter? Why is this important enough that I actually put time, energy, and effort into making changes? So with that, ready to begin?
Yep. For me, it is daunting, the idea of correcting my sleep from the point where I was, where exhaustion, I was going 3 or 4 nights a week without sleeping, just laying in my bed for 6-7 hours. My anxiety was raising through the roof, my vital signs, my high blood pressure as a result, and recognizing how many tools I needed to put in place to actually get my sleep under control was really daunting. And it really took starting each individual step at a time.
Yes.
And it takes a long time. I know for me, it's like I pull up a book and I study it, I'm going to take the test, and that's the amount of time it takes. But for real life practices, it's you put the time in and then you have to keep doing it over and over until you build that consistency and that routine.
It's not an overnight fix.
It is not overnight.
Which drives humans crazy. Like,
Yeah.
why can't we just decide and then immediately?
Yeah, and then it works, right? So even still, like I have bad nights.
Mm-hmm.
We have good nights and bad nights. It's impossible to have every single night go according to plan. And I know I've experienced it in the last month, especially with different injuries and keeping me up at night. But I'm kind of curious, in your experience with that timeline, like how have you adapted to that or worked with your clients to understand that this is a commitment and a lifelong skill?
Yeah. Well, firstly, everyone has their own time frame for improving their sleep. And in this podcast, while I am going to be giving and showing tools that I believe, if applied, can truly change someone's sleep for the better in 30 days or less, the truth of the matter is 30 days or less is when you have intention and determination and patience. You can't just say, I'm going to make my sleep better and do one thing and have everything change, because sleep is so interesting in that it's this whole person phase where everything is either at rest or it's repairing. But the spiritual dynamic aspect of that too, we completely overlook. And this podcast, I don't think it's necessarily the place to go deeply into that. But when someone has done all the sleep hygiene and they have the sleep trackers and they do prioritize time in bed for sleep, and they actually they don't seem to improve their sleep, oftentimes what is affecting them are those psychosomatic, spiritual, subconscious factors, because we distract ourselves so much in modern society, and when we do that, we have no time to actually connect with ourselves and the points of challenges that we're having and the problems and the things that are bothering us or our pain points. And so I believe that our subconscious actually will use our sleep to get our attention, or withhold sleep to get our attention, because it's the only time that we have nothing going on. We're not busy doing things. We're not taking all this action. So that is a factor in things. That aside, I have seen roughly most people be able to improve some marker of their sleep in 30 days with that intention. So it might be that they improve deep sleep, or they improve REM, or they improve their ability to fall asleep faster, or they start waking up with a little bit more energy. And for you, we found that to be true too. Mm-hmm. When we originally started working together.
Yeah, every single time. Like what you just signed up happened in that sequential order, exactly.
Yeah. And I I find that different people tend to, like, that order can change for sure. But if we're not falling asleep faster, that time in bed isn't as efficient. And so, today, these are all things that someone can go off and do without a coach, without a program. So even though I have my online program, even though we have sleep camp, aside from those things and those systems, these are foundational practices that if you put into place will make pretty significant markers. And before we go into all those things, I thought it would be beneficial to talk about supplementation, because the truth of the matter is, first responders in our lives, we just have so much stress. And I like to think of it more as strain, because stress is not just in our mind, it also is happening in our bodies. And just not having that circadian alignment with, the sun comes up and we wake up, and then the sun goes down and we go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Just not having
Perfect
that,
rule.
yeah, just not having that causes strain to the body. And the body needs different nutrients and different bioavailable compounds to help our processes do what they need to do. And when we don't get that from our food, when we don't get that from the grounding, we just, fact of the matter is, need extra supplementation.
Yeah, we're just lacking in those departments, and we have no ability to create that.
I went on a tangent this week, and I asked ChatGPT about, like, what supplements am I taking that I could, like, supplement with food? And the volume of food that you need to eat in order to get some of these nutrients, because our soil is so lacking now in the modern era, you would have to eat so much to replace a lot of these supplements.
Yes,
so
it's just impossible to keep up with that anymore. Yeah.
It just simplifies things if you can buy a couple or a few supplements to help. And that is low-hanging fruit. It's easy, not super expensive, and you just get started. Do you remember the first ones that you took?
Yeah, so my first thought immediately, even when you're talking about before, like, putting your, intentional practices in place, when I started, I thought, okay, I'm going to sleep, I'm going to prioritize it, so I'm going to take a melatonin. And I'm going to take this, and it's going to just slow down my brain and give me the hormones I need to sleep, and I'm going to go into this peaceful sleep and just wake up refreshed and ready to go, like it promises on any of the bottles that you see anywhere. So as soon as you talked about supplementation, it brought me back to how naive I was of what was needed. I recognize I'm lacking in so many things because nutrition isn't the quality it should be. But I thought I was being proactive and properly supplementing something that I was lacking because I wasn't sleeping. So obviously, melatonin helps sleep. I'm not creating it. Let's take a pill.
I'm so glad you brought up melatonin, because if there was one thing I could get on a soapbox about, it would be, please, first responders, do not take melatonin. Mm-hmm. And you're so right. Like, we're misinformed by the branding and the marketing of melatonin. Like, our bodies produce like 0.2 milligrams of melatonin a night to naturally help us fall asleep, like the average person. So even when you take 1 milligram of melatonin, which most of them are 2.
Yeah, 2, 5, or 10 even.
You're like overdosing yourself insanely. And melatonin is a hormone. So you wouldn't just like waltz into Walmart and buy testosterone. Like, God forbid, but that's what we're doing with melatonin. So not only are we overdosing ourselves with melatonin, the more melatonin you take, the more you have to take for it to be effective. And melatonin in larger doses actually fragments your sleep even more. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't help you link your sleep cycle. So we go to sleep science, we have 4 to 5 sleep cycles every night. In every phase of our sleep, there is REM, light sleep, deep sleep, and it's like in this peak and valley of light sleep, deep sleep, and then REM. And so it doesn't help us link those sleep cycles. So many people, when they take melatonin, wake up. They might still be able to fall asleep, but they wake up between cycles. And when you wake up, just like we know, when you wake up in the middle of
then
the
I'm
night.
back to the same problem of the racing minds, and I can't sleep, and it's 2 a.m. now.
Yes.
And it's too late, in my
Yes.
opinion, to take a melatonin.
Exactly.
Number 2, yeah.
Exactly. So don't take melatonin. That is not the answer. Almost always with my clients, I started with 2 supplements, L-theanine and magnesium. And these 2 are very intentional. Now, I have to disclosure, I'm not a doctor. Not a doctor. So this is anecdotal and due to the
A lot of research, though.
A lot of
research.
So L-theanine and magnesium are the 2 that I started everyone on, basically. And L-theanine, because it crosses the blood-brain barrier.
Which is not common at all.
Not common at all. And it helps with the producing GABA, neurotransmitter. And then it also helps your production of both serotonin and dopamine, both of which, I should say, all of which are dramatically affected by that stress hormone cycle that we go through. And when you can increase more GABA and more dopamine and more serotonin, those are all feel-good hormones, but the GABA helps you to relax. When you take just GABA, can almost be mildly sedative, where with L-theanine, it's just helping your body with its production of your natural GABA. And so that whole mind racing, the anxious thoughts, the sleep pressure that we put on ourselves when we're not, oh God, I'm not getting sleep, and now it's 2 and I need to get sleep, that it helps eliminate. Then with L-theanine, there actually is new data that's coming out that shows that because L-theanine crosses that blood-brain barrier, it actually can help protect the brain from the effects of sleep debt. So not only will it help us feel calmer and fall asleep easier, it also can protect us from the effects of sleep debt with our brain. So that's really cool.
So would that look like the brain fog and the heaviness and those kind of symptoms that ensue from lack of sleep?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And then the second is magnesium. And I feel like you open social media on supplements, and magnesium is just one of the most prevalent out there because as a society, again, from not getting as many nutrients from our food, magnesium is not as readily available, and it is actually a cofactor for hundreds of processes in the body. When you add stress in the form that we live it and sleep debt, that amount of stress, we just blow through our magnesium. And so taking magnesium allows us to support the body with all of those different mechanisms. So L-theanine, you can take 1 to 200 milligrams. I really like Thorne, the supplement brand Thorne, because it gives first responders 30% off.
That's helpful.
Massively helpful. And then magnesium, you actually can take between 200 to 400 milligrams. And it's magnesium glycinate is the one that helps with our sleep. So there are 30 different kinds of magnesiums. But I wanted to pull up some of the studies that have been done on these different supplements and sleep debt. And for magnesium specifically, it's so interesting. It actually shows that people who've had chronic insomnia took 500 milligrams of magnesium a night for 8 weeks, and it helped their results for the insomnia severity index. It improved their sleep efficiency, sleep time, and then latency, which latency is the amount of time it takes you to fall asleep. And then the combination of magnesium and L-theanine showed improved sleep quality, especially in deep sleep and REM, and then mood and daytime functioning. So just like you said, with L-theanine. It helps you be more alert and more engaged. Additionally, and I didn't realize this, but the so many first responders follow Huberman Lab,
Yeah.
the original biohacking doctor himself, and his recommendations, his first two is magnesium and L-theanine, and it aids relaxation and sleep, HRV, and perceived stress. So the two of those in concert are just like this beautiful result of relaxation, response, and aiding with stress. So those are the first two. And again, I'm not, I like taking supplements for very specific reasons. And those are the two that just, almost regardless, I love for anyone. I will say sleep supplements, you rotate. So it's so funny. Recently, probably I went 6 months not on that, not on L-theanine and magnesium. I was taking magnesium, but I rotated in a couple of other things. And I went back to it recently, and I remember waking up and I was like, oh, it's so good. That combo is so good.
I was sitting here reflecting on my own supplements, and I'm on a break from L-theanine, and it's interesting because I was like, yes, I miss that. I miss being like clear-minded throughout the day and not tired, and I've been kind of struggling with sleep. My ankle just bothers me at night. It's when it's the most pain, and it keeps me up. And I've been kind of slow, like every day today, and I'm sitting here making a self-note to go add to cart again, and that's a supplement. Magnesium's a different one. L-theanine I like because it just gently works with my system and helps me create what I'm already doing. And I burned out my system, so my hormones, nothing's firing right. I need the assistance. But magnesium, when I started this trial where it was like 4 weeks, 500 milligrams every single night, I experienced such deep sleep in REM to the point where I had such vivid dreams that I would wake up and kind of be a little like unsettled to whether I was in the real life or dreaming still. So mentally, it was taxing on me taking the magnesium because I actually slept so deep, and it allowed the subconscious to push to the front the things I needed to work on. So that psychosomatic involvement where it's like, okay, now I have some things emotionally I need to process and work through so that I can sleep. But it was interesting, magnesium brought that to the front of my mind and started bringing in sleep and dreams and nightmares and affected the quality of my sleep because of that. But it was just another signal, like all of these, we're just paying attention to what our body needs. And for me, it showed me I needed to do a little bit more mental therapy and process some things to be able to sink into REM and experience a good dream or just a great night's sleep and being awake when I woke up.
Yeah, that's such a great example of how the subconscious plays into our sleep, and you can't ignore that.
Yeah, and when you give your body the physical or the things that it actually needs on a physical level, then it can let you lower that layer and be able to go deeper.
Yeah. That being said, now we can move to the other, we'll call them free interventions. So if you don't...
Those are my favorite kind.
If you don't want to spend money. So as a coach for so long, I started coaching when I was 21 years old, and I have evolved my coaching practice with time, practice, certifications, and experience. Change is hard for everybody. Change around your sleep is one of the hardest because all you want to do is go to sleep. You just want to lay down and sink and start feeling that like cozy relaxation melting into the bed. And when that doesn't come, or there's a little bit of a delay in taking action before that happens, it's just really hard. Really, really, really hard. And so when I first start working with clients, we get really, really clear on how do you see this affecting you? How has it changed the quality of your life? And why do you want this to be different? What will you see on the other side that you don't have now that you really want? Because the pain of making change needs to be less than the pain of staying the same.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It takes being at the ultimate where you are at a point where you feel like you've tried everything and you're getting no results, nothing is changing, you're continuing to feel worse and just getting more and more depressed, and then it cycles into the mental part of it, and that's where it really captures you and leads you into that isolation and other self-soothing mechanisms that don't serve us.
Exactly. And do you remember yours?
All of them. I just remember the amount of anger that I brought up in my system and how angry I would feel every night. I would start to be angry if I had to postpone my bedtime an hour because of whatever life circumstances. You know, you have to put the dishes away and take the garbage out, or you have a sick kid or something postpones your nightly routine. And then on top of that, I was already angry at the fact that, okay, I have 8 hours to lay in bed. I'm probably going to sit there awake for 4 of them. And so I was so angry. And then I would lay in bed and I'm trying to relax and I'm doing my meditation and trying to feel into my body. But my brain is like second wind. It's ready to solve world problems. But my body is so heavy and tired. It's just depleted and craving sleep. And the two were just so polarized and not able to work with each other. And that was when I was at my wit's end. And when I reached out to you, because I was like, okay, I've done the things. I've taken a whole bottle of melatonin one night trying to sleep. Like, I was doing all the things I thought were supposed to lead to what I wanted. So it was, for me, it really was about accountability and just kind of getting educated and creating a plan that I could follow. Yeah. The problem was I went to the internet and I went to, 5 different people who have 5 different solutions. Yeah. And none of them work for me. Yeah. Because they're not tailored to me. Yeah. And it's about diving into what you actually need. And for me, it was the help of somebody asking me that and figuring out, well, these don't work. Let's stop trying them. Yeah. That was another thing is, well, it works for them. I'm going to keep trying it every single night until it works for me. 2 months in, I'm still not sleeping.
Yeah. And it is a very tailored process. And your reasons and your motivations are going to be different than mine. Mm-hmm. That'll be different from, the gals who come to Fire Gals. Like, it's so different for everybody, but you have to want what's on the other side more than the irritation of the present moment. And so what's on the other side, that will be your motivation. So I remember for you also being able to show up for your daughter was a massive motivator. That when you didn't get sleep, you couldn't do that.
No, I just couldn't be fun. I couldn't get engaged in arts and crafts and like building and clay and go to the park and let's go take the bikes out. I was so tired. It was, let's watch a show or let's just cuddle and do something very slow that didn't need a lot of mental capacity because I didn't have it. Yeah. And talk about the forgetfulness. I was so over losing my keys and my phone and my wallet and just the little task of driving and where am I going again? Forgetting. And that's because I hadn't slept in 36 hours.
Yeah. So the very first one, I have five ways. The very first one being find your motivation, and a motivation that is clear and that is going to move your heart. And it hurts too a little bit because you don't have it yet and you want it so much. So finding your motivation when in the middle of the night you're going to have to do a couple of things before you can get that better night's sleep, it's worth it. And the second thing that will immediately be able to, I should say, within a week, be able to give you some direction is tracking. And when I say tracking, I will put a link in the show notes to, I have a sleep tracker that, if you remember filling out these daily trackers, taking 3 minutes and filling out this little grid. So on there we have if it was a night on shift or off shift, and then how many hours you got of the sleep, how many wake ups you had, how long it took you to go to sleep, how many cups of coffee you had, if you took your supplements, if you got morning sunshine, and just runs down not simply things around sleep hygiene, but other factors that influence the details of your sleep. And once you have 7 days of that filled out, it gives you some really interesting data on your habits. We go through life just with these ingrained habits, and we think we're doing so much better than we actually are. Mm-hmm. So when you take it from that subjective point to an objective one, and you can see very clearly in black and white, yeah. So not only did I not get my morning sunshine every day this week and went to bed an hour past what I intended to and had coffee 3 times after 5 p.m., and you're able to see that you actually are blocking yourself on a lot of factors as related to sleep.
Yeah.
And it only takes 3 minutes, but like you said, it's really hard to do.
It's so hard, and I have no problem tracking things when it comes to work. I have work assignments, and I've constantly got deadlines and things, and I was always really good at tracking that and getting that on time. Being productive for school. I have assignments, I know when the deadline is, I'm going to have it all presented. When it comes to tracking for myself, because there's no accountability, there's no one else coming, like I have to produce something for, and it's just me, it is the first thing to go to the wayside. I forget it every time. And it is the most valuable, like on paper, to see what you're actually doing allows me to actually make better choices, because I have to put it on paper, and my perfectionism and my overachiever part that needs to be doing it right, so to speak, like I have to put that on paper, so I have to do it right and get that. So
and it's humbling.
It is so humbling.
And eye-opening.
So humbling. And just by tracking it, I think I increased by like the day 3. I'm like, wow, I don't even want to put this down, so I'm not even going to do it. I'm going to do something different and be proud about what I write. And even if you go into tracking with that being your motivation, that is in itself enough to cause change. Mm-hmm. So regardless of your intention putting into it, and you can always warp whatever path that you're on to make it benefit you as well. So just tracking, I notice if I would be diligent, because I'm not the best at journaling, but if I'm diligent about it in those practices, I make far better decisions. I'm more intentional. It's like accountability for myself. Yeah. It's like I'm reading it and checking in on myself, because I know my boss isn't there. You know, my peers, my students I'm going to school with, they know when I'm not producing and when I'm going behind. Nobody knows at home when I'm not sleeping except for me. Yeah. Ultimately, they find out by my attitude and poor presence and tired and saying no to invites, but it takes a while to get there. You can fake it for a very long time. The tracking in itself can be such a useful tool. I love that you brought that up as the top 5 things, because it's so doable. 3 minutes a day, that's attainable. So what other 2 things do you recommend?
Well, I will say just the funny thing that tracking reveals is not only your habits and your stats, but also, as you were saying, it challenges your commitment to yourself, because you have to sit down and put those 3 minutes in, and you are the only one who is holding yourself accountable. And it's so funny that something so small can test us that much, but it does bring it up. And we have talked about first responders being people who were so quick and ready to do things for other people and not ourselves. And this can often be revealed in tracking. So when it's annoying, you can also just look at it and say, you know, I'm doing this for myself today. This is good job, and pat yourself on the back.
I constantly do that, where I'm my own cheerleader. Mm-hmm. And I say it out loud. I'm like, okay, Natalie, good job. You tracked 3 days this week. Like, I say it out loud, and it really resonates. And then I listen to it, and I'm like, all right, good enough. Moving on with my life.
Yes. So the very first thing was finding motivation. The second thing is tracking. The third thing is actually committing the 30 minutes before you intend to lay down in your bed to go to sleep, and committing that time to winding down and actually having a wind down routine, because so many of us watch TV until late at night, or we have coffee at 7 p.m. with our dessert, and there is no, these things aren't good nor bad morally or ethically. They simply are scientific hindrances to us getting sleep faster and more efficiently. So if, a lot of people are like, no, I watch movies with my family before bed. Okay, get blue light blocking glasses. And then, start with 15 minutes where you take a warm shower and you maybe talk about what you're grateful for with your family. And you start doing intentional things that cue the body that it's time to relax. It's time to come into that parasympathetic state. That little bit of prep time makes a massive difference in the productivity with your sleep because, again, we need to partner with the body. We need to give the body what it needs to do what it wants to do. Like, we are designed to sleep a third of our lives. That is a lot of time. And so the body is meant to do that. But with shift work and not having that circadian rhythm and then all these other factors that limit our ability to fall asleep and stay asleep, we have to make some tough decisions. So if you want to stay up late watching movies and you want to have coffee late, you also just simply have to know your sleep is going to suffer. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Same for having alcohol.
Or make changes. So the blue blockers, for instance, like with my daughter, when we have our movie nights or we want to watch TV before bed and we have special time, you can wear your blue blockers and you're preventing that light to really, you're mimicking the same result as if you're dimming your lights down. You're not experiencing that blue light into your eyes and your system to keep you activated and awake. So you're allowing yourself to both watch a movie with my daughter and also decompress and start to settle into that. And as well as that, decaf coffee. I've gone to decaf coffee quite a bit. It's like sometimes I'll even do half calf, half decaf, just because I know it's a little bit better. And what I like about coffee is the flavor, and it does give me a buzz. It's comforting. Comfort. It's like, it's basically a comfort food. And I'm not even sure if the caffeine really wakes me up at all at this point because I have the same enjoyment, whether it's decaf or regular.
And honestly, I feel like decaf almost feels a little bit more luxurious because I'm having it just to be a treat. It is just not getting anything from it at that point.
Yeah, it's not my chore. It's like my morning routine. I have coffee immediately. Yeah, it's not my routine. It's a treat.
Yeah, so that's a great point. Having, it's not just stopping that, but like creating good substitutes.
Or turning down on your TV. You have, a 1 through 10 of brightness. Maybe we shouldn't have it at a 10. Do we really need that? I have adjusted every single TV in my house to be at 1 because we don't need it more than 1 out of 10 for brightness. We can see it. I have it downstairs in my main living room now. I have a dimmer, so I just dial it down. It's at 10% every evening.
Yes.
And it's nice. It makes that whole house feel like we're calming down. We get more connected, more reflection on your day, just to go back and then ensue our gratitude practice, which is something I love. We stick with it. I make it a whole family thing, and then it sticks.
Yes.
Again, it's not, I don't know if I would do it if it was just for me, to be honest, if it wasn't such a family thing in our house.
I think that's the case for most people.
Yeah.
Too. They're not just gonna Dad's gonna often do his evening stuff.
Go write in his journal for 5 minutes. That's a rarity.
Exactly. Yeah. No, so that's so true. Engaging the whole family in these practices, and it might seem daunting, but I would say like start with a family conversation. Mom, Dad needs to improve their sleep for work so they can be healthy and here long term for us. That means we need to do this, this, and this. Are we willing to try it for 30 days and see what happens? And then you're modeling amazing habits for your kids that aren't taught in school, in society.
More is caught than is taught. That's for sure.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I've recognized that just in I'll turn around and my daughter's doing her book time. She's reading at night, or she's got her little lamp that has the special bulb in it. It's like, these little things that I'm doing, I don't even recognize that she wants to do them for herself because she's watching me.
It's adorable.
You know, it is pretty fun. And that could be said about any habit, you know. Rewind a year and a half, 2 years ago at my low point, like I was drinking excessively. And I was drinking to help me settle down and bring my nervous system down to even sleep. So talk about another supplement. It served me at the time because it allowed me to fall asleep, and physically I had these injuries to recover from, but I never actually recovered or REM'd or had any kind of benefit from it. It was a false sense of a routine that I'd established.
Yeah. And replacing that routine with something else. There are so many like sleep drinks now that you can get that just help that wind down cue.
Yeah.
So 30 minutes to start winding down. So the first one, motivation, finding that motivation, the second tracking, and then the third, having a wind down 30 minutes before bed. Those are already right there out of the gate, game changing.
Yeah.
The fourth is very specifically to begin when you lay down and close your eyes to start bringing your attention to your breath. And, you know, I know that there will be some people who just, breath, really? Like someone else talking about their breath. And I totally felt the same way when I first learned about all this.
Yeah, I'm like, it can't be that simple.
No, it's not that simple. Because it's such a big problem.
Yeah.
We think there needs to be an equally large solution. But our breath just is such a powerful trigger to bring us back into our body and to trigger that parasympathetic. So there are many, we've talked about many types of breath work. I would say to keep it simple, just start with box breathing because it's familiar and it's like not hard. You just think, okay, box breathing. And even if you can count 10 to 20 cycles of doing that and just focus all of your attention on that breath, it's hilarious. I have actually had clients who told me they decided to give it a try. And they reported back the next time I saw them and they said they started doing the box breathing and before they knew it, they were asleep and just knocked out.
Yeah, usually I would wake up and I'm like, oh, am I still breathing?
They couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And it just is effective and it's so easy to do. Like you don't have to get up, you don't have to do any action, you just lay there and put your attention on your breath. If you really want to get fancy, you can find some sort of like breathing app or breathing meditation, but just box breathing for 10 to 20 cycles to start will really, really, really be effective for that. Bringing you back into yourself, winding down, calming down, and moving the body into parasympathetic. And then the final one is related to that hypervigilance. So like we talked about last time, firefighters can't sleep not just because that circadian misalignment, but also because of the hypervigilance. This last step addresses the hypervigilance because the motivation doesn't really, the tracking doesn't really, the wind down routine a little bit can, the breath a little bit can, but with hypervigilance, our brain is essentially reading every cue that is in our environment, that is in our body, in our brain. And so we want to start giving cues that our body and our mind will respond to as if it is safe. And if we're safe, there is no need for that hypervigilance to be on.
Yeah, hypervigilance could be like looking for pinch points and getting crunch points and what's wrong with this patient, what's the next step. It's just constantly waiting for that next thing. Exactly. Constantly evaluating where you're unsafe.
Exactly, and that's in the job, but at home it can be, is my spouse going to be upset because I spent money on this thing? Are my kids going to be mad at me tomorrow because I want them to clean the house? Like, all of these factors are us to a degree, like making ourselves spin out too. And so this fifth one addresses that, and that is closing your eyes and imagining you with your favorite person in the world, favorite person, favorite pet, and imagining yourself getting a hug from them, like a really nice long hug.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you imagine this, I've been at my sleep retreat where like people start crying because it is such a huge shifter in your nervous system, in your mind, that everything's okay and like it feels good, and that it feels like you are to a degree coming home. And so having a hug with your favorite person is the last step, and or I should say it's the last point. If someone starts breathing with the box breathing in step 4 and then they find that they're not asleep yet, that's when we move to this 5th step, because that winding down in that conscious and subconscious state, that is where we're hypervigilant. And so if we can address that with this like safety hug, and you feel cozy and you just imagine their arms around you or your arms around them, and what that warmth is like and that being cozy is like, that is one of the biggest cures of safety and relaxation and rest that I have found to date. And you know, I've had clients who that is all they do. They imagine that, and they're able to go to sleep. So these five different factors all address something different. And with sleep, especially for first responders, because it is such a complex issue, I find that addressing different points helps us to build that momentum faster. And these are all really easy, right? Like, you write down your motivation, you put it somewhere you can see it, so you have it visible, and it is there to drive your actions the next day. Tracking over coffee.
Yep.
And then the wind down routine, you pull your family into it. You don't make massive changes. You know, it might just be, okay, after the movie is done, we're going to read for 10 minutes together and then do our gratitude. And it's so easy.
And it's stuff that we do for our kids as parents anyway. And that's our typical nighttime routine for a child, is you read and you connect and then lights out. It's the same for us. We're just doing what we, need ourselves.
Yeah. And then the breathing and the hug, those are like the last little pieces that move the needle on sleep. So all of these put together, without a doubt, and then of course you add supplementation, massive improvements in 30 days.
Yeah.
And this is why I am so passionate about helping first responders with their sleep, because it is not impossible.
No, and 30 days is nothing to actually invest and put that time aside for yourself. 30 days after offsetting however long your career in this life of lack of sleep has been, like 1 month to just focus that time to it, just see what could happen.
Exactly, just see what can happen. So I'll put the tracker down below, and I'll say, being patient with yourself. Someone who has 5 years in and starts applying these things may find faster improvement than someone who's been in for 20 years and applying these things. However, someone who's had a lot of trauma and who's more hypervigilant by nature at 5 years in might have great difficulty because they have more layers to work through with that. And so if you can just be patient and gracious with yourself, that also goes a long way to eliminating the sleep pressure, and then actually like seeing yourself as worth the investment of these things, because we run into burning buildings for strangers for crying out loud.
Absolutely.
I don't know any other
to risk.
I don't know any other demographic that is so deserving of something that is such a basic human right as sleep than first responders. And we can give that to ourselves with time, with attention, with effort. It's absolutely possible.